Around here we're having such a late spring, and the weather forecast looks really gray and rainy for the rest of the week. So thought I'd bring you all with me for a little tour of the Tallgrass Prairie Center greenhouse, just to see some green and growing things and get inspired for the season. Most of what you see in here is being grown for our seed production fields here at the TPC, where we grow foundation seed for Iowa native seed growers that all stems from Iowa remnant prairies. And some of the things that are on the benches here are first generation. I collected the seed last fall, and so we're going to be starting new plots from scratch this year with some of these plants. Others come from the stored seed that we have that originated from first generation plots that were grown as far back as like 1998. So we're growing that seed out again so that we'll have fresh seed to supply to our native seed growers. And there's just so much stuff to see in here, so I'll try not to be too herky-jerky with the video and show you as much as we can in a relatively short time. But over here first, this is kind of the nursery table. These are all small germination flats here. And we've started things here for both our seed production plots and our urban prairie restoration project. On the slide that we're looking at right now, you can see the ones with the UPPER label. Those are Eupatorium perfoliatum. And these are germination flats that I've taken most of the seedlings out of, and we've put them into plug trays for transplanting into our fields later this spring. But we keep the germination flats here, and we let the seedlings keep coming up, and so we'll fill in gaps in the flats with these later seedlings, and we do that intentionally so that we can get some of the seeds that are more dormant and that take longer to grow, that we get those into our production population so that we keep that genetic diversity in the whole in the seed that we produce and give to growers. Then as we go down here further, you can see there's a flat of some sedges that we're growing out. That was from seed that we had in our existing seed bank, and I just wanted to refresh that this year. And then some verbenas that were collected from remnant prairies last year, and that we're growing out as part of a new ecotype in our fields this spring. We'll get that planted this spring. We also try some kind of informal trials of germination techniques. So you can see two flats here that have Lobelia Cardinalis. This was seed that we're refreshing from our seed bank. On the left, that seed was treated with gibberellic acid for 24 hours and then just simply seeded on the surface of that tray. The stuff on the right had been subjected to 43 days of cold, moist conditions in the fridge before being surface sown on the flat. And you can see they both produce similar density of seedlings in those flats. Just the stuff that was treated with gibberellic acid was delayed by about a week or two compared to the stratified seed. So this is, it's not fancy science here, but it's things that can help inform our techniques for the future. So we'll keep going. We've got some new flats over here of some Lightrisk and some butterfly milkweed. Didn't like how the first round of those turned out. We had a lot of mortality, so we got started over again. And then here are some, these are some, oh gosh, what's the name of these? Antonaria parlinii. They're a type of pussy toes, and this is kind of a pet project of mine. I want to learn more about how to grow these, and so we're growing some out for our urban prairie restoration. These came from seed from a cemetery in Cedar Falls. Here's some larger germ flats with some of those new butterfly milkweeds and Lightrisk. Let's go on over the other side over here. We have some large plugs with Lightrisk ligulostylus in them. This is meadow blazing star. Sometimes you'll hear people call this the ultimate Monarch Magnet, and it really is. We're excited that we'll have a couple of production plots of this year. It's going to be spectacular in the fall. This was seed that we grew from 2016 to 2020, and then that plot just kind of dwindled away, so we're starting a fresh plot because we need more of this seed. It's a popular species. Here's some more germination flats. Here you can see some interesting differences. We've got some of the same ecotype side by side, but the seed that was stored in the walk-in cooler for nearly 20 years, it did not come up very well, whereas the seed that was stored in the freezer for the same length of time was much more alive, and we see that pattern fairly frequently, that the frozen seed lasts longer. It's not unexpected. We have so many things in the greenhouse this year that the sage lost its place on a greenhouse bench, and so our white sagebrush, or Artemisia ludoviciana, is having to make it on the floor along with some other things. We have a lot of Lightrisk this year. This particular batch did not come up great. Our Zone 2 Lightrisk pycnostachya, or prairie blazing star, just didn't have great germination at first, so we've started a new batch of that too. And here's that butterfly milkweed that I wasn't super thrilled with. We have a lot of things where, you know, we try something out and it doesn't work great, and we start over and we adjust our techniques, and things hopefully work better the next time. Across the way here, these are all, these are Dolengeria umbellata. A couple of common names are flat top aster or parasol white top. I thought that one's kind of poetic. Each one of these flats is from a different remnant prairie that I visited last fall. And I gave them a haircut the other day, so the differences aren't quite as obvious, but when you look at them, there's just, each remnant prairie kind of has its own set of characteristics in this species, and it's exciting to see that, and really underscores the importance of having those multiple populations captured and planted in our fields. And we'll harvest the seed off of all of them this fall, hoping that they bloom and set seed well this fall. They're growing so well in here, almost too well. But it's a species I haven't grown before, so I didn't know that it would take off so well and need a haircut already in early May. Here are the verbenas. You saw the germ flats earlier of those. These are in largish plugs. You can see they've also recently gotten a haircut because they were just way too big. We'll also get those into an irrigated plot this year because they come from wetter areas, ditches, sedge meadows, edges of fens, places like that. Now we're heading to a windier part of the greenhouse. We have a lot of ventilation in here, which helps to keep the seedlings from dying from fungi. And this area I like to use for those plants that are more susceptible to dying as seedlings from fungal diseases. So the air circulation and the pink rock that you see on the surface of these flats, it's actually a product for poultry called chick grit. That helps to keep the surface of the soil a little drier around the base of that plant and helps prevent them from dying of those seedling diseases. So the location in the greenhouse is chosen pretty carefully for some of these species. That is, oh sorry, I forgot to tell you what those are. Those are purple prairie clover seedlings right here. The next bench over, we have seedlings of Canada Milk Veg. This is one I tried to grow out a couple years ago and just never got good seed production off it. We're going to try it in a different location this year and give it a little bit more room to spread out. It's one that doesn't like to grow in real neat rows, I don't think. So it'll produce rhizomes and spread out, and we're hoping letting it grow a little bit more naturally will help it to produce for us, and I guess we'll see. Coming along down here, we've got a few more flats of different things in germination, like these. There's some Asclepias verticillata, or whorled milkweed. We're growing some more of that out, and we have had some problems in this flat with seedling mortality. We could use a fungicide on that, but I really don't like to handle fungicides in the greenhouse where we're working with the plants so closely. This is more Lightrisk ligula stylus, the meadow blazing star, and we could just produce so much of this year. It seems like every seed came up. Some really sad looking flats of that whorled milkweed. We are restarting it for good reason, because the first batch did not do well. Here are some flats of Baptisia alba, or white wild indigo. These will take several years really to reach maturity and flower and set seed in our plots. This was seed that was harvested, or these were started from seed that was harvested between 1998 and 2007, and it'll be exciting to see that seed producing beautiful plants out in the field again. Finally, here back in this kind of sheltered corner, we set up a spare table and we're growing Lobelia Cardinalis. This is cardinal flower, gorgeous thing. It's one of the few truly bright red plants of the prairie, also of wet prairies and wet areas. And this one, I read some propagation protocols that said it does better in wider containers than in narrow plugs, and you can kind of see that the leaves sort of spread out almost flat on the surface of those containers. So that's what we tried, and it seems to be successful. And we'll have an irrigated plot of these Lobelia Cardinalis. I can't wait to see those flower. You know, there's a lot of practical, important work. And there's also just the enjoyment of the beauty of it as you see these things develop and grow. You see all the diversity within these populations too. It's just exciting to me every year. We share our greenhouse space, a little bit of it anyway, with an educational garden on campus. So if you see some tomato plants and some other things, those are here legitimately. We've got another wetland species that I collected from the remnant prairies last fall, and this one, oh yeah, you saw the germ flats earlier. This is one of those where we save the germ flats, and you can see some of the plants are just tiny. Those are ones that we transplanted relatively recently into plugs, and then the rest of them were some of the earlier growing ones. And there was a lot of variation in them. Some of them were huge, and I have recently clipped them back, given them a haircut, and I hope that they recover from that fully and we can get them out into the plot soon. It's a challenging year because the weather is so wet. We're having a hard time getting out into the field and getting the plots ready for transplanting these into the production rows this spring. Oh, one of my favorite pet projects is over here on the ground. One of the things I like to say is that working with native plants teaches you a lot, not just about the plants themselves, but about things like patience and humility. These are seedlings of a beautiful prairie plant called hairy puccoon, or Lithospermum carolinianum. And this is seed that was given to me by a native seed grower a couple years ago, and then there's 2 flats of seed that my friend and I collected from a local remnant prairie. A couple years ago, I had tried just an informal trial of boiling the seed and then subjecting it to cold, wet temperatures in the fridge for different lengths of time. And what I found out was a boiling treatment followed by 90 days of cold, moist treatment could give you about 75% germination. So I tried it again last year, and you could see the little blank holes in these trays. That's how many seedlings actually came up after doing the same successful treatment from the previous year. It just was no good. We got 10-15% germination. Well, I could have thrown the flats in the compost at that point and called it good, but I didn't. We put them in out in an unheated shed for the winter, and then pulled them out this spring in March and set them outside. Lo and behold, we saw seedlings coming up. So I brought them in the greenhouse where they're a little bit safer, and we'll see. But yeah, patience, humility, prairie plants, always teaching us. Well, I hope you enjoyed your little tour of the greenhouse and get some inspiration from the growing things. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. My contact information is on the Tallgrass Prairie Center website. I'm Laura Walter, and have a great growing season, y'all. Bye.